Recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Streaming, I want to talk a little bit about some definitions before I get into my questions, just so that I can understand what your testimony is. Streaming services send video data through broadband internet to televisions, computers, phones, tablets, and other devices. Linear streaming services deliver live channels over the internet and are commonly considered as alternatives to cable. That would be your YouTube TV, Hulu, Live TV, Sling TV, etc. And then on-demand streaming services generally provide a catalog of shows and movies for consumers to watch without waiting for downloads, scheduled airtimes, or physical copies like DVDs, and that would include Netflix, HBO Max, and Amazon Prime. Warner Brothers Discovery, the company that owns HBO Max streaming services, Warner Brothers Movie and Television Production Studios, and linear cable television networks, including CNN, is currently up for sale, and at least two companies, Netflix and Paramount, are actively competing to buy it, looking at a sale of upwards of $100 billion. Professor Yoon, I would like to start with you, and that is, as you noticed in your testimony, an initial challenge that antitrust officials will need to overcome is how we actually define the relevant market in this new streaming world we live in. Now, can you explain for us why some parties might want this definition to more broadly include linear TV and social media platforms, and why other parties would want a narrower definition focused just on the streaming?
Yeah, it's the classic struggle in antitrust cases. Narrow definitions obviously mean higher market shares for the merging parties, and that usually is what the challengers of a merger want. So the agencies will probably challenge this merger if they find sufficient evidence that the market is just streaming, and then they'll go forward. But the parties' incentives clearly is to dilute their market share, their influence based off of the competitors. So they're gonna want to have a broader market to include, as you mentioned, YouTube, YouTube TV, cable television, satellite. The inclusion of YouTube into the market will probably destroy any opportunity for this merger to be blocked, because that will then mean that consumers have a viable option to move their attention to YouTube. If the data is there, then I don't think this will be challenged. So that is everything in terms of this debate.
Okay, so do either the narrower definition or the broader definition, which would be better for the consumers?
So for me, the consumers care about their options and choices. So I would hope that the market definition adopted by either the agencies or the parties map to truly what the consumers have options over. So if the data does show that consumers, when they see a higher price for Netflix, people leave Netflix. Data consistently shows that. Where do they go? Do they go to HBO Max? Do they go to Amazon Prime Video? Or do they move to YouTube, social media, and other platforms? If the data shows that they move to the latter, then that to me is a great deal of evidence that the merger does not consolidate market power, because the consumers haven't given them that power.
Okay. Well, then consolidation of streaming services may appeal to consumers who are frustrated with the fragmentation of the current market across multiple apps and platforms requiring different subscriptions. Netflix is the original streaming service and still today considered one of the premium on-demand streaming services. It is also one of the few that is actually profitable so far. While other platforms are trying to grow and turn profits, what are the potential negative effects for consumers by allowing the top premium service to acquire another? Mr. Yoon.
What are the potential negative consequences?
Yes.
I think that if I had to predict the negative consequence, it's most likely going to be those consumers who have no value for HBO Max, yet Netflix will most likely increase the price to those consumers to access the platform, because it's going to integrate that content. The winners are most likely HBO Max users today who also subscribe to Netflix. I would predict their bundle price would be lower. So that's what I meant earlier, that I think it will be a mixed bag, and it will depend on who's the bigger consumer base.
Okay, just one last question. Balance is obviously needed between preserving competition and responding to these fragmentation concerns. Does allowing the market's biggest player to acquire another major player appropriately strike this balance, or is there a better way? Mr. Yoon.
Oh, gosh, it's a great question. I'm just so limited to whether this deal violates the law or not, and that's kind of my focus. I think there are other counterfactuals could possibly be better.
Okay, well, thank you. With that, I yield back.